Okay, what if I could tell you for this little amount of money, you could buy resources, you could do a college class that could be up to $1,500, even more, for a 3-credit class. Would you be interested? Okay. And it does take time. This can be done with your curriculum that you're already utilizing, and I know you are the curriculum guru. But what I loved about this is that you can incorporate, if you're doing apologia or whatever it might be, whatever Christian curriculum you might be using, you can use this to extend what you're already doing. So one of the things that I've learned is this book is called Creative College Funding, and I'll pass it around. How smart homeschooling families get through college without debt. And so this lady and this one, can you still see me, Emma? Parents Guide to College, to Credits Before College. This is an excellent book. I actually recommend this one a little more over this one because she actually walks you through the plans of how to do it. And she believes in starting that process in even middle school, so that you start working with your kids so that they can start learning some of this and making it really easy. So this lady actually taught in co-ops. So she taught classes like they would do psychology or whatever it might be, and so they all learned it together, and then they focused on studying and playing games. And I know that's something Lori mentioned, we could maybe do a group if you guys were interested in some accountability and encouragement, and especially if that would help you teens. And I don't know, that we would have to ask and see if that would be something that you're interested in. But this book is excellent. So anyway, so if you are able to do CLEP, you can save thousands of dollars, but more importantly, you can save time. And depending on if you're going to a Christian school or not, you can save time in a classroom that you don't necessarily believe what the professor is believing, right? Or trying to push. If you're going to a Christian university, that's probably not an issue. But we chose to go ahead. We were looking at dual enrollment, and all of a sudden, we were doing it through AeroLab. We picked out classes we were going to, and the door got shut, and I don't know if the funding got pulled or whatever. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. And so I was like, oh Lord, what are we gonna do? So I started praying and researching, and that's when I started to find these options. And for us, and my son was telling me, he said, Mom, I don't really want to go to that high school. I know what's going on there. I really don't want to drive to that one. That's half an hour away, you know. And so we were looking at the time, like for an hour-and-a-half class for dual enrollment, twice a week would have been a big chunk of our time. And so looking at CLEP, I found it saves so much more time. We could do it on our own schedule. We could do it in the privacy of our home. I usually do it in the morning. I'm working out, and I have him doing, I had him do about an hour of one course per day for 4 days, because he had AeroLab one day. And with that, we were able to earn, I think it's about 32, 33 credits. We're still waiting for UCCS to accept his calculus class. So that's more than a year of school. If you look at it, if you were to do less credits, it could be 3 semesters.
I think I might have missed it. What does CLEP stand for?
Oh, yes, okay. I guess I should start with that.
College level examination program.
Yes, college, basically college credit with CLEP. So it basically, what it does is the certain universities, around 3,000 in the United States, accept CLEP. There's also a program called DSST that is similar. It was originally started for the military, and they've now opened it up to civilians as well. So so one of the things is it's very helpful if you know what your degree, what you're wanting to do. And I forgot to ask, do you know what you want to do?
I have a couple ideas, but not really.
Okay, no, okay.
Clueless.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, I do know what I want to do, just I don't see how college quite fits into it yet.
Okay, and that's okay. Maybe you don't, and that's the thing is, maybe for your life, college isn't what you need, and that's okay too. But what I'm saying is you can do this high school credit and kind of do your own dual enrollment with doing CLEP. So does that make sense? So basically CLEP is a test out program. So you can either just go in cold. I was telling her that I did my first CLEP test in college because I did not want to do math in college, and I had one college class that was required, and they told me, okay, if you CLEP this class, then you don't have to take math. And I'm like, okay, tell me what to do. And I didn't know about, I don't even think there was, you know, modern states or anything at that point. I just started studying my algebra books until I passed that class. So I didn't have to take that class in college. And that was huge for me because I knew it was going to bring down my GPA. So that was my experience with it in, what was that, the 90s. So it's been around since 1967. So it's pretty well accepted. Most universities do accept CLEP, but what you need to do is you need to check with them. And I brought a list just as an example of like UCCS, just because they're local, what they accept. And sometimes you might pass the class, like we had this happen with Daniel. He passed the class, but he didn't get a high enough score for it to be accepted as a class. So for example, psychology, he took psychology, he got a 50, which is passing, and they say, yay, we passed. Well, when we got to the school, they said, well, we require a 50, I believe it was a 54 or 55, so you don't have to take psychology. So I'm gonna teach you how to look at that on here, as well as, I also have the list of DSST classes that you can take as well. So I'll pass these around in a little bit. And this is from Pikes Peak State College. They're pretty close to what UCCS requires. So basically it'll tell you if you take this class, they will give you, it equates to this class and how much credit they will give you. And so that's really important to know because for example, I had told Daniel, I said, oh, I found out that there's a DSST for technical writing because that's required for his degree. Well, when I looked it up, they don't take that one. So there was no reason for him to do that. So and even if he did, it wouldn't be wasted. Like he would still be prepared, it would still be learning. I believe any kind of learning is important, but you kind of want to target your time, right? I feel like our time is precious, especially with our kids. And I know a lot of you are probably working. How many of you guys that are teens are working? Okay, so you're working, you're trying to balance all of that. And that's the other thing that I loved about CLEP is you can go in, Daniel was working, and so he's like, I can go in the morning and do a little bit. I could come home at night and do a little bit. And it was very flexible with his schedule. And he didn't have to meet in groups. He didn't have to turn in projects, turn in papers, which is huge, but he had to listen to the professor on the computer. The biggest thing is, who was I telling him, just getting tired, just staring at the computer, like I need a break. His attention span was only so long, and I totally understand that. So you can gauge it how you want. And I love how your mom is encouraging you to set up a plan of how you're gonna do it. That's kind of what we're doing with Emma too. Okay, so I was thinking, do you want to do the video real quick, Lori?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so this is my son. He couldn't be here, but I wanted him to kind of just share just a really quick video, if that's okay.
All right, Christine, are you gonna be able to see, or do you need to swap over there?
Probably okay.
Hey, Isaiah, could you move a little bit so that you can see? Because there's a little video we're
I
gonna
can
play.
remind me to.
Okay, as long as you think you can see.
So he says 29 on there, but we're waiting for the calculus. He passed calculus.
Did he retake it?
He did retake it, so that was the other thing I was going to share with you all, that you do get 2 chances with Modern States where they will give you a free voucher to go and take the test at the testing center. We have had a couple times where we didn't have the $25 fee reimbursed to us. There's a $25 fee. It's under $100 if you don't do it that way. I mean, $100 compared to a full course of time and money and not having to buy textbooks and all that is huge. So I feel like it's a big savings, but we're waiting to hear from UCCS. Actually, we have a meeting with his advisor tomorrow to see, I believe they should give him, it says 5 credits, but we'll see. So, which
His
would be
advisor, I'm sorry, at UCCS?
at UCCS,
Okay.
yes.
Yep.
Okay, so here's Daniel. Daniel is Amy's eldest son.
And is there, hopefully there's a good one.
I'm going to tell you a little bit about my life experience.
Volume, Gary.
I graduated high school with 29 college credits. Even though they weren't all easy, I'm going to tell you it was way easier than having to take a bunch of college classes at any sort of public or private university. There are a couple hard ones in the mix that I took, such as college chemistry, college calculus, college psychology. But you can also find some decently easy ones, such as English literature, American government, and history for the US2. One of the biggest things that I'd recommend is if you know something or a lot about a certain time frame or about a certain subject, try and find the CLEP on that one first. For example, history of the US2, I know a lot about US history just because I really studied it. I really liked learning about the time frame between World War II and the modern era. So I knew over half of the material in that. I was just having to study some other things. Also, English literature was one where, it's asking you about different books. And if you've read a decent amount in your life, you should be able to recognize most of those books and authors and such. However, the tool that we use is called Modern States, and you'll need to, if you decide to use this, it's a very nice tool because they will pay for your CLEP voucher. Every time you take a CLEP test, it's about $100. They will give you a voucher for it if you take their course. They'll give you anywhere from 5 to 20 hours of videos to watch, different quizzes along the way, and then a final test where you have to score over 75%. This test can be troublesome. I will tell you, for the history of the US2 one, I got at a 70% mark 4 different times. Though that shows that obviously I need to work on stuff, I also was getting different questions each time, which kind of throws off how you're actually able to test your knowledge. Sometimes it's smarter to find a better prep source other than Modern States. So you can find things like REA guides. Those are available online through Amazon, or you can get them through the library. Just be forewarned, a couple of them have some errors that we've found. But overall, I think it's a great resource. It'll really help you knock out some basic electives and such. They have a lot of different math courses, several science ones, and plenty of different liberal arts and sciences sort of college classes that you'd find on there. They don't have communication, which is one that I know a lot of homeschoolers are looking for. So, hi, my name is Amy Rickman, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my CLEP experience. I just graduated high school.
Okay, thank you. So did that help, you guys? Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass some of this around in just a little bit. But I'm going to show you one of the books that I do recommend. It's called an REA guide. And so that way, as you're going through Modern States, it's usually set up in the same way. So you can go through and read too, because sometimes you just need that refresher. And so usually you're doing a subject like, how many of you guys know so much about history? Like, you have learned history to the nth degree as far as homeschoolers. Do you guys feel like that? So history is one that I feel is pretty easy. I will tell you there's 2 different history ones. There's history of the United States 2 and 1. 1 is supposed to be easier. Daniel wanted to do 2 because he loves World War II and Vietnam War and all that, and he did great on it because he loves that time period. But there is a lot more as far as the judicial court cases and those kind of issues, a lot more women's rights and all of that. So I have heard from, and I read, I'm part of all these groups, that they say that the U.S. History 1 is a little bit easier, so I'll just give you that tip. And do you have these in your store?
I have a few. I try not to keep them if they're too out of date.
Okay,
So that's
okay.
the big issue.
Okay. And I'd even have some old ones too, because I feel like,
Yeah,
it just depends, but I know for you. And so then I'll also pass around, this is what Pikes Peak accepts as far as CLEP. And I apologize because my handwriting and my notes are all on this one. I mean, it's on all of them. I write on everything. I did not know, never imagined I'd be sharing this with people. But this is DSST, and that's just a screenshot of an example of what they take at UCCS. We did not do any DSST. They do have one for communications, which I've thought about for Emma, but we're going to do a different workaround for her. So I can share with that.
Is the military one, the DSST?
It used to be part of the military, and then they opened it up to civilians. So, and just so you know, if you're military, all of these should be covered. All CLEP tests should be covered. And it was something they did for military because they're deployed, they're all around, and they're trying to work on their degree. And it's so hard when you have to show up, especially when you have to do it in person. And, they were gone, so they gave them this as an option. So a lot of it started with the military. And because of that, UCCS and some of the universities here in Colorado Springs take quite a few more than other schools. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example here. So chemistry, like I said, here your passing is probably 50, but here UCCS requires that you get a 54. And I will say this was one of the hardest tests, and we did not know that. So one of the things that I would recommend you do, and I'll tell you some of the ones that are easier, but if you go into a test, we had no idea to look and see that chemistry was going to be one of the hardest ones to pass. Like the passing rate is only 25%. We didn't know that going in because we met with the advisor, Daniel's advisor, and we asked, what CLEP tests are we going to take? Because he had already planned out some. And the guy said, nope, that's just going to be an elective for you. That's not going to help you. He told him too that those aren't worth your time. He said, but if you can get chemistry and calculus, that's going to knock out real classes for you that are required. So he barely got a 54. So he studied chemistry. He loved it. He took it in 8th grade with Cindy Puhuk and did the labs and did all of that. And then when we went through to do the modern states, and like I said, he's always loved chemistry, he realized that a lot of the content is college level. It was not just your high school chemistry. So he went to Cindy and he said, can you help me? Because he was taking physics with her. And she's like, oh, no, I can't. And she's, you know, you guys all, if you know Cindy, you know she's amazing with science. She was a science teacher. And she said, nope, that's above my pay grade. And so then I started praying. I was like, Lord, what are we going to do? We've already spent all this time trying to study chemistry. And my friend connected me with a professor who's a Christian, and she offered to tutor him. She only said, I have one night to give you. Only one night. She says, I don't have any other time. And so we sent her everything he got wrong, what he couldn't figure out. And we spent an evening at the library studying till late. And she went through everything until he got it right and understood those concepts that my husband and I could not help him with. And my husband he did meteorology, so he's like, if it's physics, I can help, but I can't help with chemistry. So I was feeling like really like, oh Lord, you know, did we do something? Did we get into something a little bit too, you know, over our heads? And the Lord provided. So I just wanted to share that with you. But most of the other classes were a lot easier. So I just want to tell you just to kind of like make sure you feel the waters, make sure it's going to be what you can do. So I recommend starting out and doing a couple practice tests, and they have them in the back here. And if you get a 70 or above, then you're probably good to go for the test, okay? They do score it differently, so it's like 50, oh, did you get a 50%? No, they score it differently. And so that's a little confusing because at first we're like, wow, you got a 50? Oh gosh, that doesn't sound good, right? That sounds like an F, but it's a passing grade. So they score it differently, just so you know. So, and then you can go through, and like I said, if you know something about a subject thoroughly and you don't even want to do the modern states, like college composition, we didn't even use the book. We didn't know better. We didn't know that you had to use a book. We just went in and did the modern states and did the test. So you can do it without doing modern states. It's under $100, and if you think about it, your time, sometimes it's better just to go and try the test if it's something that you're really comfortable with. So I'll pass that around. Okay, so when most families picture college, they picture 4 years. But for most students, it's not the reality. What do you think, how long does it take most kids to finish college nowadays? What would you guess?
5 to 6.
Yes. And even when we went to UCCS, the professor, met with the department head, and he told us that. He said, well, it's about 5 years on average. And I'm like, you know, you think 4-year degree, and you look at the price of how much it costs every year, and I was like, oh my goodness, how are we going to do this? Nearly half of bachelor's degree students who borrow money leave school with around, how much would you guess in loans?
60,000.
That's a good guess. So 30,000 is what this is, which I think is low. But they're saying at least 30,000, and they may have to borrow more depending on the school that they attend. And while the standard payoff is 10 years, they let you go longer. And so we were at the dentist's office, and I asked our dentist, because I was reading my books, of course, and using it my moments, every moment, wisely. And I said, how long did it take for you to pay off, medical school to be a dentist? And he said, are you kidding me? And he was born the same year I was. He's like, are you kidding me? I'm still paying it off. He says, I have 4 boys, and I have told them I do not want them to go this route. And so he was encouraging them more into trades, which is wonderful. So like I said, if trades is something that you want to do, I think it's wonderful. I was just talking to a friend. Her son is going to do the lineman program, and I guess they train them here in Colorado Springs, and they need linemen, and they just train him and he doesn't have to pay for school and he's out there and he has a job. I'm like, that's amazing. I was talking to somebody else it was our pastor who was saying that his grandson passed like an escalator exam. And apparently escalator technicians get paid $150 an hour. So if you pass this exam, you get to be part of this special group that can go and fix escalators. So there's so many options. You don't just have to do college. So I don't want you to think that that's the only option. But if you have something in mind, like you kind of know what you want to do, it's important. If you want to be a pilot, most of the time, if you're going to be working for any of the airlines, you need a 4-year degree. So anyway, there is a video, I think I sent it to a couple people, where the mom, one of the moms, she talks about how her son, she got him a 4-year degree doing CLEP and Dual Enrollment in DSST, and the same year he finished college, 1 semester later, and he got his pilot's license, all in the same year. So, and then she had started her kids' middle school doing CLEP tests. So she interviews her middle school, and I had Emma watch that video on how to pass the American government one, right? Okay, so debt just doesn't affect your bank account. It can influence our decisions. So Proverbs 22:7 says the borrower is the slave to the lender. So my goal for my kids is that they don't end up with debt. I'm thankful that I did not. I worked really hard and graduated in 3.5 years, but I drove home every weekend, and I worked at a resort area, and I did what I could not to have debt, and I was able to get hired with the military, and they only allowed people to do this as a management training program. So while I was going to all the job fairs, which I really suggest you do. They actually have one here in El Paso County, and I made Daniel go, and I'll make Emma go, because I want you to go around and look at who you're competing with. When he was looking at cyber jobs, guess who he's competing against? AI, but also tons of military that are retired.
Oh.
And they have 20 years of experience, they have a security clearance, and because you can read on the online, oh yeah, we need thousands of jobs in this area, right? But can you get one? Mm-hmm. And so when he went in there, he said, because I said, if you don't need, because we had talked to somebody who said you may not need a 4-year degree, you can just get certificates. He did work on getting certificates, so he has an industry level certification. Took him 4 times, so that means he failed 3 times. And this was not cheap compared to CLEP. We were paying like $500 a pop. And so, but he got his one industry certification. He needs to get more. And so this guy said, you can just go that route and not do a 4-year degree. And I said, okay, you decide. He went to the job fair and he said, Mom, everybody I talked to, they're requiring it because of the military here. And he said, I would be competing against all these people, and it does help. Getting a security clearance is another big thing, right? So, and that's huge. And then getting experience, that even is worth more than college. So if you can do getting your experience while you're doing your CLEP and everything, like you, Isaiah, getting your experience with your job, that can make all the difference in the world. So for some graduates, student loans mean delaying moving out of their home or family dwelling, delaying marriage, or having children because monthly payments consume a significant part of their income. So I have met people that were called into the ministry or wanted to be missionaries or pastors, and they still had to work a full-time job to cover the debt that they had from school. Or I've met teachers, the same thing, they're paying off and they're not even really getting, they're getting very little. And so my heart goes out to those people. I'm like, if there's a way not to do that, I would prefer them not to have debt. My husband decided to go the military route, so he went ROTC, which also pays for you, and then they pay for his graduate degree. And then for me, I so much didn't want debt. I ended up working for the Air Force. I was sent to New Mexico, then to England. I bought a house at 23 years old, brand new house, and when I left England, I moved to Germany, and so I sold the house, and with the profits of that, I paid for my master's degree, so I wouldn't have any debt. So that's how ingrained it was in my family, so that was really important for us. Okay, so as homeschool parents and families, we spend years preparing our children academically and spiritually. What if we could also prepare them financially? So that's why I want to give them that gift of not having debt, if possible. And sometimes it's not. And I'm not saying, I'm not putting down anybody who does have debt. It's just kind of a goal that I'm trying to instill into my children. Okay, so the other thing is scholarships, and I know Lori's gonna be talking about scholarships. Scholarships are great, and I say apply for as many as you can. But I'm gonna compare two different people, one that focused on scholarships and one that focused on CLEP, okay? So you kind of gotta look at it like a coupon off of college, right? You still have to do your 4 or 5 years. Maybe you can get it down. And so it gives you a coupon. So like when you go to Hobby Lobby and you get your coupon, you still gotta pay for the stuff, right? So it makes you feel so much better. Ooh, yay, I got 40% off or whatever. But you're still paying for that time. And so if you look at it, I really had to change my focus on that. So student A earned $5,000 scholarship, okay? They still need to complete 4 years of college and pay, this is for a university that costs $20,000 per year. We're doing a hypothetical. They still need to pay the remaining $75,000. Student B earns 30 college credits, about 1 year through CLEP and dual enrollment. Even with no scholarships, they may only need 3 years of college, saving approximately $20,000 or more in tuition fees and often room and board. $60,000 would need to be paid with 1 less year of time in this example. So do you see how that? And so many people, like I said, they work on trying to get their ACT and SAT scores. And I say, yes, go for it. Get your ACT and SAT scores up. But let's not put all of our focus on that when we can take our precious time and use it to get a college credit and not even, you know what I'm saying, not have to worry about that. So that's kind of my thing, is I'm really into not wasting time. Okay, so the best strategy is to try, obviously apply for both. Daniel applied for both, and he did get some scholarships, some small amounts, but it's a lot to still pay, right? But taking off a year of time, and then we did graduate him a year early, so I feel like we gave him 2 extra years. Okay, so why? So CLEP accept around 3,000 universities, and the one lady, the book that I have here, she talks about that she believes in learn it once, study it well, and move on became their motto. So they would spend a year doing their regular curriculum, and then they would prepare for the college exam, the CLEP exam, and then be done with it. So her thing is, why do you want to study history in middle school, high school, and then college when you can study it once and get it over with? So who would agree with that? As much as we all love history, right? I remember taking it in college. I'm like, oh gosh, you just want to please just get me through. Okay, so why homeschoolers like it is because they can learn at their own pace, test when they're ready, and they can test at any age. So you can start really young, and if you can pass it, you can pass it, which is really cool. One exam can replace an entire college course, thousands of dollars, and you can graduate sooner, and you can use it as dual credit. So one thing I wanted to tell those of you who are making transcripts, you don't want to put CLEP on the transcript. What I do, what I learned from Jennifer with her transcript class, is you want to mark, I put a little H so they got honors, and I personally don't put CLEP on there. CLEP is sent to them separately, like if you're transferring in credits from somewhere else. And same thing from dual enrollment. And we'll talk about that there's some dual enrollment, many schools that you can do dual enrollment and it will just transfer over. So you don't need to put it on the transcript. Planning matters. So not every college accepts every exam, and not every college, I think you said yours didn't even accept any CLEP, right? Mm-hmm. So you're looking more at AP. So always check with the college credits policy before testing and know what number you need. That's key. We learned that the hard way. Pick one subject your child already knows. I recommend college composition, analyzing literature. How many of you guys are good readers here? I bet everybody. Every homeschooler, right, should be a good reader. Mm-hmm. Analyzing, you know how to analyze literature, right? So they say you need to brush up a little bit on your Old English and some poems and stuff, but you could probably pass that very easily, especially theater kids, right? We're always doing a lot of those kind of analyzing. Theater is literature, right? American government, history 1 or 2, and those are the ones that I would say are probably some of the easiest. And you can do a search on ChatGPT and see what would be easier for you. And then you can take one exam, and guess what? If you don't pass, you still get a second chance with a voucher. So they still cover it. You have to wait 3 months though. When I did it, I had to wait 6 months. But you only have to wait 3 months and then you can retake it. So I just say that because like with Daniel, we're trying to get his calculus. We just took it a couple weeks ago. And if we didn't complete it, he was gonna have to start with Calc 1. So we didn't have like another 3 months to take that test, right? Okay, so build momentum and confidence. Dual enrollment can also be an option to knock out college requirements. So a couple things, and I think there's a sheet that I brought that talks about some classes, some universities that offer free classes. So with Emma, we're gonna do a communications class that is free. So California Baptist University does one free class. So we're gonna do communications for her to start out with this college, for her college credit. And Oral Roberts University, there's quite a few that they'll do like one for free, which is really cool. And you could even probably talk to, like if you have somebody that you, or somewhere that you're looking at going to, like, can you do this? Can we try out your class? That you might even be able to negotiate, who knows, if they don't have it listed on there. Arizona State University, I do like their option. You can pay $25 and take their college class, and then it gives you grade protection. So if you don't pass it, you don't have to pay anything. You did the $25, you spent the time going through the class, and you don't have anything to lose. If you do pass it and you want it transcript, you can pay $400 and they will transcript it. So I feel like that's a pretty good deal. And they have universal learning classes, which allow you a year to finish it on your own time, or they have other options where you have to start, August, whatever, and finish in October or December, whatever it is. So you have that option through them, which I think is pretty cool. So Daniel did one class through them, and I'm just gonna be honest, he did not pass it. He did calculus through Arizona State University. He did not. My husband was in the middle of tax season working 2 jobs and could not help him, and he did not pass the class. And we're like, oh, that's okay. We still can do the CLEP. So then he said, Mom, I even told him, I said, if you just want to do calculus at school, at college, that's totally fine. You tried it, you got the concepts, you learned. He was 3 points away from passing. So he was really, really close. But what he said, Mom, I know, I should have done it. I realized what I did wrong. I missed this on the test, and he knew right away. He said, I'm gonna CLEP it. So he spent the summer going through and getting the modern states. And I said, well, do you want to try it without doing modern states? And he said, nope, I'm gonna do the modern states and try it. So he went ahead and did it, and he passed it. So that's huge. The other thing I was gonna share is I'm just gonna pass this around. Is this book. Like I said, I don't know if you can get that on Amazon. I got it through her website, and this lady she would teach like homeschool co-ops, and they would all work together to do like psychology. They would do games or whatever it would be, review games. So that's something that we could look at if you guys were interested. This book, she has an older book that I got, I think from the library, and then this one just came out in September. And then I was going to give you this example. So this is a lady, she was saying, like, if you're going to do history, you could do U.S. History 1 and U.S. History 2 for your 9th grade semester, and you've earned 6 college credits. I would recommend not doing 2 histories, because that probably one of those will count as an elective. So, but she gives you some ideas here. Like if you're going to study psychology, you could probably pass human growth and development, and sociology and psychology. So you can bunch things together, and there are places like Liberty University who will take a whole bunch of your college CLEP and dual enrollment from other places usually. But you do need to check their website, because some of them say you need to take half of them from us. But I think Liberty and Colorado Christian University are very liberal. We only have to take a certain amount with them. So I hope that helps. So this gives you an idea. She also gives some money, like some numbers, like how much you save with that. And okay, so, and here's some examples. I just didn't have enough to print for everybody, but I do have a little resources that I pass. I think I have enough for maybe every family that I'll pass out in a second. But she talks about, okay, like here's your math classes. This is what you could do for regular math, and this is what you could CLEP. So you could combine them together. Science, what you can do. So for example, for Emma, what we're possibly looking at is doing biology with Miss Cindy, and then at the same time doing modern states. So that way she's getting her Apologia, her book, she's getting her lab, and then we're gonna do the CLEP and see if she can pass it, right? And if she can't, it's okay. She thoroughly learned biology, and that's a huge win, right? And if she doesn't pass it the first time, she could try for it again. So Emma, I want you to come up real quick. So, okay, so this is my lovely daughter, Emmeline. Emma, can you tell us a little bit about your CLEP experience?
Well, I took 2 CLEP classes. I passed one and didn't pass the other. So I passed college composition. And then I wasn't able to pass American government the first time.
But what did you get?
But
What did you get for your score?
I think a 50.
Or I think you got a 49. She got a 49. She was 1 point away. So we know it's doable, right? So is that something that we're going to beat you up about? Like, oh my gosh? No, we still go out and celebrate no matter what, right? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think it's really fun because I can get high school credit and college credit at the same time. And MLS is really fun.
Okay. Anything else you want to share?
So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll pass these around. This is from that lady's book, so I didn't want to plagiarize. I'm pretty careful because I have my own book. But if you can look through this, she gives a list of like CLEP exam titles. And like I said, this is where I found out, oh, there's a DSST for technical writing. But I was like, why did I never see that? Well, that's because UCCS doesn't accept it.
So which book is that out of?
That's out of the blue book, that one right there. I highly recommend that book. She goes through all the planning. This is all the DSST courses, and then I included in here, it tells you how much credit each one's worth, and then you've got to go, and then she gives an example of paying for like a credit exam around $100, and would be compared to, you know, a tuition and fees of $1,000. Now I think that's low because now, like even UCCS is about $1,400 per 3 credit class. If you're going to go to a 2-year university, 30 credits would cost you about $3,770. If 4-year public university, about $10,560. Private 4-year college, about $37,650. So what she's saying, if you paid $100 for each of your CLEPs, which usually you would get free through Modern States, you would be paying $1,000 in comparison. So, okay, do we have any questions?
So Modern States, to be able to take classes, to be able to go towards challenging the CLEP. Is there another, I know you've told me this, is there another website for being able to do the dual enrollment?
Okay, yes. So there's all different dual enrollment.
Okay.
So dual enrollment you can do with almost any university. So you can start taking classes with almost anybody. So Christian University, you know, PPEC if you want to do that. Some of those are online, some of them are in person. You can do dual enrollment with almost any university. I've been looking at a lot of Texas universities. I found a school that has an engineering degree that I was thinking for her, where they do an engineering like associate's degree. It's Christian and it's $200 a 3 credit class.
Okay.
Which is huge. The other thing I was going to say is Jennifer has a big group, and it's called Homeschool for College Credit, and I put that on there. She has Facebook groups for every single state, and she has a main one, and then she has like if you want to go into technical stuff, if you're interested in Christian University, there's all different groups to join. And anyway, she has made a discount with ASU, Arizona State University, where instead of $425, it's about $300 per class. And with Regent University, it's about $250.
Yes, I was just gonna say that the Facebook pages that she created are the homeschooling for college credit for students who want to take dual enrollment classes at a university. And so she dispenses information on that Facebook page, and then she also has the one for just the mainstream, what you're doing with the Modern States.
Yeah, she has a lot. So she has one, like I said, for every state, every discipline you can think of. So she has a lot of groups, but I would join her main group just to hear people's conversation. The other thing, if you're CLEPing, I recommend How I Pass That CLEP Test group. It's a Facebook group, and it's a lot of people that are like nursing students, and they're like, oh my gosh, I want to quickly take, I need to take these 3 classes before I start my next semester because I don't want to take these in school. So it's a lot of adults in there too, but there's a lot of parents and teens as well that are CLEPing, and they will put, I just passed this test and this is what I have Daniel like give me like a write-up for it. Okay, I passed this one, these were the hard parts for it, make sure you study this, you know, so that way other people can help each other, and then a lot of people will put documents on what to study. Also, you can use Quizlet. Quizlet has a lot, so if you do CLEP for, which one you were doing, algebra, then you can just do Quizlet for CLEP algebra, and you can get all the Quizlets for that. The other thing that I'm having Emma go through right now is there's a lot of crash course videos. So like I had Daniel do all the crash course chemistry videos. I'm having her do the American government crash course videos. So there's so many resources out there. The other thing is I use AP books. AP books on that topic are great. Sometimes it's easier to get an AP. And the other thing is Peterson. So at the library, if you have your library card, you can go in. There's a system in there where it's free to get to, and they have, it's almost like Modern States where you can practice. They have, what, flashcards, Emma? What else do they have, Emma?
Quizlet?
No, I'm talking about Peterson. They have practice
they have,
tests.
like, learning things.
Yeah, they have practice tests, and that's for
Modules
free,
type
where you
thing.
normally you have to pay for
Is
it.
that a
and-
book you check out, or?
No, it's online. So she actually has to use her card and go
It's
in there.
PPLD.
Yeah, it's on there.
Oh, one of the sub.
And they have
sites.
AP in there, so if you're studying for AP, they have AP, DSST, and CLEP. And you just go in and you pick the test that you're looking at, and they give you flashcards. They have almost like Modern States, except you don't get the voucher. You know, the practices, the tests, and all that.
I just want to ask a question
Mhm.
for myself, and I'm sure everybody else. I feel like I'm getting a drink from a fire hydrant, and so I think what you know, because you won't be there to walk me through all the next steps. Would you say that the book, the Homeschooling for College Credit book, would be a step-by-step resource that might tell us some of these things we could go to? Or like, how could we like duplicate what you're telling us so we're not like going,
If you can only
Amy?
afford one book, I just finished this one last night because I was speed reading it for you guys. I would recommend this one because I feel like she gives more of, you know, put these together, take this, do this in 7th grade, do this in 8th grade, do this in, you know, 9th grade, whatever. So I feel like this one is really good, but if you want more resources like scholarships, what colleges, like she goes through like every state, what they have to offer, if they have free, you know, dual enrollment. She talks about all different countries. Did you know you can go to other countries and you can get for a lot less expensive? I've had friends that did that. I had friends in Germany that I worked with in Germany, and they sent their kids to school in England because it was very inexpensive. So you can do a master's degree, you can do a regular school in different places, and she goes through all the countries, she lists all that. So both of these are really good resources. This one she explains a little bit more about why to focus on, you know, getting them, you know, dual enrollment or college credit. This lady, she actually covers a lot on if they don't know what they're gonna do, how to help them figure it out. And she gives
So is
lots
there a
of resources.
step-by-step of like, this is a resource you can use if you're having trouble with Modern States, helping you get through the test?
Yeah. This one is
That
also.
one.
I mean, both of them are really, but
Okay, so both of them have that.
I would recommend both of them. Like, these are the two best resources I've seen on that. So anyway, so thank you. Like I said, I'm still learning, and I'm just trying to share the knowledge that I've learned, and not perfect in this.
She didn't get to see the movie book.
So you have to go to her website and order it.
Oh, okay.
And oh, the other thing I was going to say is that she also wrote this book. So we did psychology just in Modern States, and she wrote this to kind of do it as with her homeschool group. And so this was really good because you can do it from a Christian perspective. She also has videos that she talks about to go to. And so I wish I would have done this with Daniel, and then maybe done the Modern States, because you know it's a little bit more left leaning a little bit, but that way like I said, she believes in really studying it well, and then you could take human growth and development if you wanted to, but Daniel didn't need that. He just needed psychology. That was the other thing, is originally I was gonna have him take human growth and development, because at my school it counted for psychology. But at UCCS, he had to take psychology, not to have to take any psychology, sociology, or whatever. So we quickly pivoted, but what this lady recommends is taking all three of them. So taking human growth and development, psychology, and sociology, so you have 9 credits, and you study once, or study for the whole year. So you're studying really in depth and learning it, and then taking this test. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Where is her website?
I put it on there, I think, on the list of
It's on the
resources.
sheet.
On the resources.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's on there. Second line, second one down.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, like I said, thank you for your time. I feel like I'm just learning. So Lori asked me to share, and at first I was like, I don't know if I can because I'm still learning. But the thing is I feel like if I can save a little time and headache and money and any kind of debt, that I would love to give you that gift. Because I know for my husband and I, it set us up. I can't say we're like, independently wealthy or anything, but we didn't have debt to worry about, and that was huge for us. And when we got married, we didn't have debt, and we didn't have to like, oh yeah, let me pay off this. I just know so many people, even family members that have made or stayed in terrible relationships because they had to pay off debt or whatever it might be. So I just want to give that gift. The other thing somebody was telling me about, which I thought was ingenious, they said instead of paying for college, why not use that money and get them a house? Because if you really want them to have a family, that really sets them up. Where we focus on college, but if you think about it, it's easy to get into college. Getting out without a lot of debt and doing it quickly is hard. That's the challenge, where they have us thinking, oh, can I get in? Can I work on my SAT or ACT? And so our thing is like, well, how can we do it without debt? And so it was a different mind shift for me, and so I really had to switch my gears. I had him focused from the time he was in 7th grade working on SAT, and that didn't really get him very far.
It sounds like it's helpful if you know what college you're going to go to, because you can talk specifically
Right.
about CLEP and classes. Yeah, what's your recommendation if kids are younger and don't know what college they're going to, or just don't know what college
Yes,
they might be going
absolutely.
to?
And she talks about that. So like Jennifer, she has 4 boys, and some of them, like one of them did welding, one of them did all different things. So, which is totally great. But she said, I still tried to get them at least an associate's or a bachelor's. And so one of the things is Thomas Edison University. They accept a lot of CLEP. They are an online school, and they are very good. You can take other things too that I don't want to go into because I just don't have I haven't done it myself, so I don't want to recommend something I haven't done. But they have like options, like even getting like a business degree. And so one of the things they talked about in these books, and I've seen this in real life, you guys working for the military, is that if somebody has a 4-year degree, you go into the military, enlisted or officer, and if you go in as enlisted, it's great because you get more hands-on, right? Officer, you're more leadership, but the pay is a huge difference. And so if you had nothing else, like what would you fall back on? Like if you couldn't be like a pilot because of whatever, what would you be able to fall back on? So her thing was, if they have a 4-year degree, they can teach at a Christian school. They could go into the mission field. They could be a pastor. You have to get some more credentials, but it opens so many doors. Like I could not have done the program I did unless I did have it. So she encourages, like, even just getting she talks about like getting a business degree or something that could possibly help them that's more general, right? So that would be my suggestion, still to start working on it because it's not going to hurt you. The other thing is, I've seen 2 different things, so I don't know what's true. I've seen CLEP is good for 10 years. I've seen it's good for 20. I don't know which one it is, but let's say it's good for 10 years. So let's say your child decides to, let's go see the world. I did that. I went to over 50 countries. I love to travel. And they want to travel. And then they're like, oh gosh, maybe I do want that degree. They can go back and all that CLEP is still there. Do you know what I'm saying? There are other, and so for me, the other thing is when I started in England, I started working on my master's degree, and so I worked on 2 classes. I had to drive to class, I had to get there, blah, blah, blah. It was a lot of work. And when I went to Germany, I was in the middle of nowhere, Germany, and I didn't have an English-speaking school that I could drive to. The closest was in Switzerland. It would have been a 4-hour drive. It would have been so expensive, and I would have had to pay hotel. I'm like, how can I do this? And so that's when online degrees were first coming out, and it was like, oh, those are weird, those are bad. And I did one of the first ones because I was in Germany, and it was really, really hard because of the time difference. They were like, you have to post by this time. I mean, it was really, I remember being in like Croatia and Bosnia and trying to find a internet cafe to get in and get my stuff and get it posted and all this stuff. But you know what? It opened up doors for me, and I got into a presidential management fellowship program, and I got to work in the Pentagon for 5 years. So that would have never been open if I didn't get my master's, because that was a requirement. Do you know what I'm saying? So I feel like it opens doors. And even if you don't want to do that, if you want to do something else, now I'm going back to school to get my become a homeopath. So, you know, you can do whatever you want to do and switch, but I still have that. Like I had a lady ask me, if something happened to your husband, what would you do? And I said, I know what I would do exactly. I would go work for the military in this, it was in managing early childhood development centers, because they always need people, and I can go live overseas and get paid. You get paid a lot more overseas. You get a housing allowance overseas. So you get like $1,000 more, probably more than that now, $1,500 more a month. I would do that, and I would take my kids with me if I had no other choice. At least I had something to fall back onto. So,
And to more directly, to answer that question as well, like if, say this was Evie or something and she didn't know exactly what she wanted to do, and a lot of kids are in that position and it changes, but like your general educations, you work on your general education classes.
So like communications, your math, all those things that are going to be required. Normally most colleges require a science, physics, chemistry, or biology in a lab. So one of the things I learned, like with her natural sciences, most universities don't care if you have natural sciences. So you could work on that as a CLEP, and you could get that elective, because a whole bunch of your credits are electives, so you don't have to take them for later, but it may not count as your science class. Does that make sense? So